Hey, it's Rick here. How you doing? So my talk for today has to do with football. Six different Super Bowls where I believe one play may have actually made a difference in the outcome, or at least the way the games went. You can disagree. That's fine. Just six off the top of my head. Two involve Dallas. Two involve Pittsburgh. Two involve Seattle. And I'm not being biased anyway. I'm gonna start with one that really um, reading the history of the games and stuff like that. Super Bowl five, Dallas versus Baltimore, was a very nip and tuck, sloppy game. A lot of penalties, a lot of turnovers and things. And the Cowboys had a 13-6 halftime lead, which they held into the fourth quarter. Baltimore wound up winning 16-13 in the very last play on a 32-yard field goal by Mike Clark. It was a very tough game to get offense. There was so much sloppiness. But there's one play in particular that may have, again, I can't say this would have won it for Dallas, but it's definitely one of those plays, if you read the history on it too, whoever team you like, I'm not trying to be biased here, just that the Colts might have got away with one. In the third quarter, I believe it was third quarter, early fourth, I think it was the third quarter, Cowboys still led 13-6. Points were a premium in this game. They had the ball close to the Colts goal line. I think they recovered a turnover themselves. And it was first in goal to two, and they ran the ball with Dwayne Thomas fumbled. And so the Colts recovered, but they never really knew if he was recovered. Dave Manders, the center for the Cowboys, to this day states he had the ball. But Billy Ray Smith, being smart, I give him that, kept saying, it's our ball, our ball, our ball. And the referees, no instant replay, nothing, just gave the ball to the Colts. Now, if the Cowboys at the 2-yard line, if they make it 20-6, okay, at that venture of the game, either late third quarter, early fourth quarter, with difficulty moving the ball, that might have been it. I mean, it wound up being 16-13, so it was 13-6. Dallas never scored again. Colts tied it and then wound up winning at the very end after Morton threw an interception. But to go up 20-6 at that venture might have been too much for the Colts to come back, considering the way that game was, sort of very tight and low scoring. But they never really confirmed, the NFL too, that was actually, they found the Colts with the ball. Just, they didn't know who had it, and Billy Ray Smith, being astute, says, my ball, and they gave it right to the Colts, but Dave Manders, ascended to this day, swears he came up with the ball. That could have made a big difference. One of those plays where, again, just because they go up 20-6 doesn't mean they win. But considering the way the game went and how difficult it was to move the ball, that might have been an insurmountable lead at that point of the game. That's the first one I've always pondered. The second one, I'll go in order here, except for one of them, I'm going to leave to the end. So Dallas-Pittsburgh, next game. This is the final one that involves Dallas, and the first one involves Pittsburgh. 78 Super Bowl, second one. Two great teams. The Steelers were great all year. They're 14-2. Dallas was kind of the Super Bowl champion the year before. Floundered the first 10 games. It was 6-4, and they weren't playing the potential, but then rocked it, winning 6 in a row to end the season, and they also got to the Super Bowl. Definitely two best teams that year, without a doubt. I really thought, I remember seeing the Super Bowl with my dad, and my father agreed, my late father. Dallas was the better team in that game. It was interesting because the first half was sort of even. Steelers had a 21-14 lead, and most of the damage done by Bradshaw, who wound up being the MVP, was done in the first half. He had three touchdown passes in the first half. But the Steelers never really able to run the ball in that game. And Dallas could. Why they went away from the running game, I'll never understand. But anyways, in the third quarter, Dallas got the only points, which of course was famous, the 3 points, but they should have got 7 when Jackie Smith dropped the pass. But that's not the big play I'm talking about. Yes, that should have been a touchdown. That was just, it wasn't anything the Steelers did. It was just a veteran 38-year-old receiver that get picked up at the waiver wire with a chance to get his one Super Bowl, drops away up and pass. And Staubach, being a gentleman, he says, took the blame, saying he took too much off the pass. No, he didn't. It was dropped. Nevertheless, it's 21-17 in the fourth quarter, and the Steelers have no momentum at all. They could barely get a first down. The running game was doing nothing for the Steelers, and Bradshaw had been stymied. So it's 3rd and 10 in their territory on the 25-yard line. They had no momentum. Bradshaw heaves a pass deep, And he goes for Lynn Swann. Swann, if you see, noticeably pushes Benny Bonds down, the cornerback. Bonds then drops, and his leg goes up, and Swann trips over him, and they call it defensive pass interference. Now, I don't know if Bonds did that purposely or if he just the momentum from being pushed. He was noticeably pushed by Swann. Now, if you want to call it on Bonds as well, then the best for Steelers, it doesn't count the play, and you do it again. Offsetting penalties. I think because Swann initiated, he should have been called offensive, which would have obviously made the Steelers punt. Instead, it's like a 60-yard penalty. He wanted to put the ball to 22 of Dallas. Okay? A couple plays later, Franco Harris, his only good run of the day, was made possible because Charlie Waters was blocked by a referee. It was a whole sequence of butterfly event, the butterfly effect, and he runs for a 22-yard touchdown. The only good run of the day he had, 28-17. The next play, a free play, Randy White, great defensive lineman, somehow is on the special teams. Somehow he tries to pick up the short punt and fumbles around his own 20-something yard line. Next play, touchdown, 35-17. Looks like a blowout. But the Steelers didn't even get 50 yards of offense for those two touchdowns. They were more or less gifts. And then Dallas comes back and makes it 35-31. But that one play, Lynn Swann was huge at that time because the Steelers had zero momentum. They didn't have a drive in the second half. They couldn't drive the ball. They couldn't do anything. And, of course, you got like a 55, 60-yard. It was a long penalty that changes the whole game. Puts them down there, and then everything, a sequence of plays happened. I'm not saying Dallas would have won because there could have been other penalties and other fumbles. But the Cowboys definitely got their momentum broken. They had the Steelers in the ropes, without a doubt at that point. And that was one of the worst Super Bowl calls I've ever seen for a penalty. If you look at it again, I don't care who's fan of the team, it's obvious that Swann pushes Barnes down and gets the call, which really opened the floodgates, so to speak. Number two. Number three, I'm going to skip actually number three, because that one is actually gone. But the next one I want to talk about is Cincinnati and San Francisco in 1988. Great Super Bowl. Well, it wasn't a classic Super Bowl, but it was a tight one. Montana, beautiful drive at the end like he did against the Cowboys in 81 when he first started his greatness. And he throws a touchdown pass, I think a 10-yarder or something like that, to John Taylor to win at the end, 20-16. But, okay, early in the fourth quarter, it was 13-6 in favor of Cincinnati. They had the lead. And Montana targeted Rice near the goal line. Lewis Billups had the ball right in his hands for an easy interception, which he made Miller not only intercepted, he could have probably run it back. He had it wide open and he dropped it. Next play, Montana does the same thing to Rice, scores 13-13. Okay? Now, that's what you do when you're a great quarterback. You take advantage, you go right back to the same guy. I got it. But Lewis Billups had a pass and a wide open he catches that and goes 20-6 instead of 13-13. 49ers might not win that game. That was fourth quarter when that happened. So the difference between 13-6 and possibly 13-13, and 20-6 at that point. Now, Billups may not have gone all the way, but he had a clear field. So if he didn't, he was going to go very far anyways and put them in position for at least a field goal. Bottom line is that was a huge play at that time because it was the fourth quarter. It was a tight game, and that would have at least stopped the 49ers from getting that touchdown. That's 7 less points. So, again, I'm not saying 49ers magic wouldn't have done it, but it definitely made a big difference. It's like a forgotten play in that game. It was huge. Lewis Billups, wide open, right to him, drops. Number 4, this one still always frustrated me. 2005, sixth season, I think it was sixth season. Was it 6? No, 5. 5, right, 5. 2006, Indianapolis. 2005, Pittsburgh beat Seattle 21-10. Well, first of all, this game was filled with one of the biggest jokes going. Steelers were handed so many penalties. It was ridiculous. But one was big. It was like 14-10 at the time. Pittsburgh was winning by, I think, 4 points. Seattle has the ball on a 32-yard line. And they go back, throw a pass, completed at the 1-yard line of Pittsburgh. Beautiful play. And they call offensive holding. It was like a ridiculously horrible call. So instead of 1st and goal at the 1, it becomes like 3rd and 20 at the 42-yard line. their own. And of course, they didn't do nothing. And Pittsburgh winds up getting a touchdown, winning 20. One of the worst calls was like a phantom holding call, but that was the whole game. That game was actually more than one play. That one stuck out to me because it should have been first and goal to one and a Seattle had a chance to take the lead. But instead, they phantom, and the whole game was just one penalty after another in Seattle, and I think they really screwed the Seahawks. And the last one, of course, second to last one I'll talk about, Seattle versus New England, of course, 2014. What was Pete Carroll thinking? Okay, you're down 28-24. You have the ball at the 1 yard line, and it's second and goal. You have 3 chances to score. You have a running back who's been tearing the Patriots up in the second half, okay, who already has a close touchdown, over 100 yards now in the game. You have a pretty mobile quarterback, and you pick that freaking play. First of all, I would have done quick count. Tell the guys, hey, quick count, quarterback sneak, quick count. Get up there. Don't even let them set up quick count, quarterback sneak. If you don't get it, you're going to get close. If you don't get it, now you get third down. Now send beast mode through. And if you don't get it, you have fourth down. And if you're going to throw the pass, do what John Madden always said. Make sure you throw a pass so that only your guy can get it. Throw it to the corner, throw a little out. You don't throw the freaking ball in the middle of the field. That had to be the dumbest call in the history of the Super Bowl. One, if it's not fixed. That was terrible. And, of course, they lost. The game they should not have lost. That, I don't know how to. And the last one, I want to talk just a little bit about this because I want to say all the others that I mentioned definitely could have changed who won. Yeah, not guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed, but it definitely could have changed who won. This one, not necessarily, but I still think it's something significant. 1987 season, Doug Williams, like only good game he ever played, I think. Respect him for winning, but he wasn't a great quarterback. But he played a great game. 42-10 blowout over the Broncos. And that's all I remember, right? Great second quarter, 35 points. The biggest productive second quarter in the history of the Super Bowl. But there's one play, again, the butterfly effect. I'm not saying that it would have made the Broncos win, but as you know, momentum is a big thing. For a little into the second quarter, that game wasn't 42-10. It was 10-0 Denver, and Washington was terrible. They couldn't do anything. And so just before the first touchdown, 2 plays before that big first touchdown that made it 10-7, Doug Williams steps back, injures himself. Nobody touches him, leans back, and he drops the ball. Nobody touched him. Now, he wasn't giving himself up, which wasn't even a thing back then. He wasn't sliding. He went back, tried to fall back because his knee buckled, and he drops the ball. Broncos pick it up because it's near the 20-yard line or so of Washington. Broncos pick it up, and they run it in. Stadium. Play was dead. No, it wasn't. That should have been set. Instead of 10-7, which was it should have been 17-0 Denver. Now you say, well, so instead of 42-10, it would have been 35-17, right? Take a touchdown. Maybe, but I'm not arguing that. But you have to admit, if you've seen football, one play creates a butterfly effect. The difference between mentally going 10-7, you've cut right back into the lead. You've changed momentum. If that goes 17-0 Denver, like it should have been, it may change the way the game went. I'm not saying Denver automatically does win because of that one play, but there is a huge 14-point swing at that point in the game. Now, if that happened in the third quarter when it's 35-10, no. But when it's 10-0 and you're about to make it 17-0 and you're dominating versus 10-7, might have made a little difference in the outcome. It at least made it a little more interesting. So that's my 6 different ones I have. So feel free to put a comment in there if you can. Super Bowl. I know there's been things in playoff games. I just put 6 Super Bowls, not playoff games. All right, it's Rick here. It's Father's Day on 19 June of 2022. God bless. Have a great day.